Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev is almost here, and fighters are giving their predictions on it. Let's check it out. Henry Cejudo had a lot to say about this crazy matchup. He knows how close this matchup will be, but he thinks Islam will come out as the champ.
Islam or Charles? I'm gonna have to go with Islam, dude. But you can never count Charles out. And I probably shouldn't be saying nobody, honestly, because I like them both, dude. But I don't know, man. It's hard to count out the champ too. But I just know Islam. I just know how good he is.
So Henry is the first fighter to say Islam will win, and it seems that betting companies are also backing Makhachev. As of now, Islam has a minus 200 betting favor against Charles. So that means that they think he has a 66% chance to win the fight. But one person who disagrees with these odds is Michael Chandler. He says that he doesn't know why Charles Oliveira is being doubted after all of the fights he's had. Check it out.
Final one for me, Islam versus Charles. Who have you got in that one?
Charles Oliveira. I think Charles Oliveira gets the job done. I think Islam, not that he's not great, not that he is not highly touted, not that he is not going to be a future champion, but there should be no reason why he should ever be a favorite in that fight against Charles Oliveira. What Charles Oliveira has done over the last couple fights, finishing everybody that he's fighting, is nothing short of amazing. The resurgence of Charles Oliveira's career from relatively unknown, somewhat up and down, can't be relied upon journeyman to now legitimate #1 lightweight on the planet has been something to behold. So put some respect on Charles Oliveira's name. I think Charles Oliveira goes out there, and I honestly think he finishes him.
One of the biggest supporters of Islam is the legend Khabib. He had a major part in getting this fight together. At first, Charles was saying that Islam wasn't deserving of the fight, but Khabib was consistent in saying that Islam would destroy Charles. Recently, Khabib has even said that Charles Oliveira will back out of the fight. He tweeted this: "I just think Charles Oliveira will not show up in Abu Dhabi, and the UFC will replace Charles with Beneil Dariush." Regardless of who the opponent will be, Makhachev v MMA is on his way to becoming the best in the world at UFC 280. But here's Khabib's reaction if Charles does show up and fight him.
This is what Islam gonna do with Charles Oliveira. He gonna ride him. You know, like, this is like, you understand what I mean, right? Like how you ride your horse. It's very good on this.
Yeah, but you've been doing that forever.
Just save this video, because a lot of people underestimate Islam. They think Charles Oliveira have ground game. He don't have ground game. If you tap 8 times in UFC, how you can say you have ground game? You tap 8 times. You understand?
It's only 129-0, man. I don't know.
I mean, those two are such good friends that Islam even said if Khabib was still fighting, he wouldn't fight him for the belt.
You want to be #1 contender, yeah? You want to be champion? If you are #1 contender and Khabib is the champion, you need to fight Khabib for the belt. Will you fight Khabib?
If I need belt, I go Khabib's home, take belt.
Wow, smart answer, man. Smart answer.
But another popular fighter, Sean O'Malley, is predicting that Charles wins the matchup. Here's more of what he had to say.
God, I see Charles marching out there with that high front knee, you know, doing his thing. I honestly haven't really watched a ton of Islam, more of a little bit of his recent stuff, but it's crazy how hyped up he is, literally because Khabib says how good he is. I mean, obviously he's went out there and competed and performed really well in his last couple fights too. But we're so excited about this guy. A lot of the reason is because Khabib says how good he is, and people in the training room and stuff too, which is rare. We're not super hyped because of all the crazy performances he's had. It's more so just because Khabib thinks this guy's the best in the world. And I would love to see Charles go out there and get the job done. Very excited about that fight.
Dana White has high praise for Charles Oliveira too. You would think Dana White would be upset with him for missing weight in his last fight, but he actually says although Charles technically isn't the champ, he still is. Here's more of what he had to say about Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev.
He also announced Charles is fighting Islam in Abu Dhabi.
Right.
Just tell us your thoughts about that fight, why that one's the way you went, and tell us about it.
Well, we tried to make that the Dariush fight, broke his ankle. That fight makes sense in Abu Dhabi. Everybody wanted to do it. I think everybody wanted to see it. So here we are.
Obviously, he's not officially champion, but will Charles still get the pay-per-view points? Have you worked that out yet?
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah. I mean, he's the champ, but...
Paddy Pimblett is also supporting Charles Oliveira for this upcoming fight. Sure, Paddy hasn't fought either of the fighters or really have had any hard fights in the UFC, but he has had a lot of knowledge on the fight game and what might happen. And also, he's one of the most popular fighters in the world, so we had to add him to the video. Here's more of what he had to say.
What do you think of that fight between Charles and Islam in October?
It's going to be a big fight, you know what I mean? But I think Charles is going to have too much for him. I think Charles will finish him in like 3, something like that. He's fought a much higher caliber of opponents, a lot more dangerous fighters, and he's come through the other side. And I just think he's got too many tools in his arsenal for Islam to deal with.
Justin Gaethje recently fought Charles Oliveira for the title and lost, so his prediction may be more accurate than most. He knows just how good Charles Oliveira is, and he definitely respects him, especially after losing. And he's confident that Islam Makhachev will not dominate Charles Oliveira like Khabib and others are saying. Check it out.
I don't know. I think Charles is going to move forward. I don't see, Islam's going to try, and eventually he might be successful. And if he is, he'll win. But I don't see him tiring him out. Even if he takes him down for the first 2 rounds, I don't see Charles getting submitted, and I don't see him being too exhausted to continue to fight the fight that he needs to fight. So it's just what I think. I mean, chance, luck.
Michael Bisping, who is notorious for his accurate fight predictions, has had a lot to say about this super fight. He respects both fighters, especially because they both have huge win streaks right now, but he still thinks he knows who will come out as the champ. Make sure to pay close attention as to what he has to say, because he gives a lot of insight on what will happen.
Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, UFC 280, going down from Abu Dhabi, Fight Island. Listen, this one, I don't think this has shocked too many people. Charles Oliveira has been tremendous up at lightweight. I think he's on a 10 or an 11 fight win streak. Just unbelievable. And in my opinion, Charles Oliveira, the most exciting fighter on the UFC roster. He really is, because he almost gets finished in a lot of them, and he's got to be careful. You don't want to get caught off Islam Makhachev, because Islam Makhachev is very clinical. He doesn't make mistakes.
Now, one of the predictions most of you have been waiting for is from Joe Rogan. He plays a huge role in the UFC, and fans of the organization love hearing what he has to say, especially his predictions. And he's a big supporter of Charles Oliveira. It's hard not to support Charles after his crazy win streak. Sure, he started with a few L's in his UFC career, but there's nothing more respectable than taking an L, learning from it, and becoming the champ. With that being said, Joe Rogan knows that Islam is a beast as well. Check out what he said.
Amazing card, but the Oliveira Makhachev fight, that's the big one. That's the big one, because there's so many questions. And, Oliveira has never fought a grappler like Islam.
No.
But Islam's never fought a guy who can submit people like Oliveira can. Oliveira fucks everybody. That dude's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Islam's, he's for real. That grappling's serious. Because that kid, Drew Dober, is very good.
Mm-hmm.
For him to handle Drew Dober that way, I was super impressed.
Well, I'm a big Islam nut rider.
I know you are. I know you are.
I think he's awesome.
And today we came to shut that shit down. His style points in his fucking house.
But you're here, man. You're here because I love you.
The real G's are in the house today.
Listen, you're here because I love you. But the reality is, that guy is like, if you just look at someone who can win.
Who do you guys think will win the fight? Lastly, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click that on the screen.